A young billionaire sees a waitress feeding her blind daughter, and what he does next will change their lives forever. The alarm rang at 5:15 a.m., just like every morning. Nathan Bennett opened his eyes immediately, without the usual grogginess most people feel. He slept little, but efficiently, just as he did everything else in his life. He sat on the edge of the king-sized bed he occupied alone in his penthouse apartment. The sun had yet to rise, but that never bothered him. He liked starting his day while the city was still asleep. 15 minutes on the treadmill, 30 minutes of weight training, an exactly 8-minute shower, an impeccable grey suit, a navy blue tie, Italian shoes, black coffee with no sugar and one piece of toast. By 6:30 he was already in the elevator, descending the 30 floors of the most expensive building in the city. "Good morning, Mr. Bennett," the doorman greeted him. Nathan responded with a brief nod, not out of rudeness but out of habit. Words were business tools, not to be wasted on trivial conversations. His driver was already waiting for him with the car door open. "To the office key, sir." "Yes, Robert. I need to arrive before the video conference with Tokyo." As the car glided through the almost empty streets, Nathan checked emails, reports, and stock quotes. At 38 years old, he ran a tech empire he had built from scratch. Business World magazine had recently called him the solitary billionaire on its cover. The title didn't bother him. On the contrary, it sounded like praise. After all, he didn't need anyone getting in his way. At least, that's what he told himself. The Bennett Technologies office took up 3 entire floors in the city's financial district. The security team was used to the routine. The boss was always the first to arrive and the last to leave. "I cancelled your lunch with the investors," said Melanie, his assistant entering his office precisely at 8 miles. "They asked to reschedule for Thursday." "Move it to Wednesday. I have a board meeting on Thursday." "On Wednesday you have the launch of the new system." Nathan frowned. "Then Thursday morning before the board meeting." "You already have a breakfast meeting with the marketing team on Thursday?" "Cancel the breakfast." Melanie nodded, used to this kind of scheduling chess. In her 6 years as his assistant, she rarely saw him do anything other than work. "Anything else, Mr. Bennett?" Nathan looked at her for a moment. Melanie was competent, loyal. She had worked with him longer than anyone else, and yet he barely knew anything about her personal life. "No, thank you, Melanie." When she left, Nathan turned his attention back to the computer screen. Numbers, graphs, reports, a world that made sense to him. The morning went by in a constant flow of meetings and decisions. Nathan had a reputation for being brilliant and ruthless. His thorough attention to the company's finances and strategic vision were legendary in the market. "I don't see any value in this acquisition," he said, cutting off one of the director's presentations. "They have interesting technology, but the team is inexperienced. Next item." The room fell silent. Derek, the vice president of expansion, cleared his throat. "Nathan, with all due respect, I think we're missing an opportunity. Their team is young, yes, but innovative. Sometimes we need to look beyond the numbers." Nathan stared at him. Derek was as close as he had to a friend, if that word even applied. They had started the company together in Derek's parents' garage 15 years ago. "Looking beyond the numbers is like driving blindfolded, Derek. If you want to do charity, donate your bonus. Next item." The meeting went on, but Nathan noticed the discomfort in the room. It wasn't the first time he caught the exchanged glances among his executives. "He's brilliant but difficult." That's what they said when they thought he wasn't listening. By 7:45 p.m., the entire floor was empty. Nathan remained in his office, the city lights shining outside through the floor-to-ceiling windows. He enjoyed these moments, when he could work without interruption. His cell phone rang. It was Derek. "Still at the office?" asked his friend, even though he already knew the answer. "I'm finishing a few things." "You always are." Derek sighed on the other end of the line. "Listen, we're gathering at O'Malley's to celebrate Sophia from marketing's birthday. Come have a beer." Nathan glanced at the clock. He had more reports to review. "I think I'll skip it. I have..." "Work? I know." Derek cut him off. "Nathan, when was the last time you did anything besides work?" The question lingered in the air. Nathan couldn't remember. His days were so identical they blurred together like pages of the same book. "I'm going out to get dinner," he replied, unwilling to admit that his fridge at home contained only water, some fruit, and frozen food. Progress, great. Next time, who knows? You might even have dinner with other people, Derek joked sarcastically. Bon appétit, robot. The call ended. Nathan stared at the phone, a strange uneasiness settling in his chest. Derek had always been direct, ever since college, but lately his teasing carried something else. Concern, maybe. Nathan shook his head. He didn't need anyone worrying about him. He was exactly where he wanted to be, on top. Alone, yes, but by choice. Or was he? He realized he was starving only when he was already driving his Audi through the city streets. Normally, he would grab takeout and eat while going through documents, but Derek's words gnawed at him. Without thinking too much, he parked in an area he usually did not visit. A middle-class neighborhood with small restaurants and corner shops. Nothing like the high-end places he took clients. A simple sign caught his attention. Nonna's Kitchen. Italian, seemingly family-run. For some reason, it felt welcoming. The interior was modest but clean and cozy. Warm lighting, wooden tables, soft music. Surprisingly, the place was almost full on a Tuesday. Nathan felt out of place in his expensive suit. "Table for one?" asked the hostess, an older woman with graying hair. "Yes." She led him to a table in the back, near a window overlooking a small, well-lit garden. Nathan sat down, automatically reaching for his phone to check emails. "Good evening. May I bring you something to drink?" The voice made him look up. The waitress was young, probably in her early 30s. Brown hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, tired yet kind eyes, and a polite smile. "Water, please. And what red wine do you recommend?" She seemed slightly surprised by the question, as if few customers asked for her opinion. "The Montepulciano is excellent with our meat dishes, but if you prefer something lighter, the Pinot Noir goes well with our mushroom sauce spaghetti, which is today's special." Nathan nodded, noticing how she spoke about the wine with familiarity, not just reciting from a menu. "I'll try the Montepulciano," and he quickly glanced at the menu, the steak with risotto. "Great choice." As she walked away, Nathan caught himself observing her. There was something about her, a calm, genuine presence, unlike his world of polite smiles and calculated relationships. Her name tag read Emily. He returned to his phone, but something distracted him. Her buzz of conversation came from a reserved area of the restaurant. There was a larger table there, with what seemed to be a family celebrating something. Emily returned with the wine, pouring it with precise gestures. "Seems like a celebration," Nathan commented, surprising himself with the small talk. Emily looked at the loud table and smiled. This time, her smile was different, more genuine. "It's a wedding anniversary, 50 years together." Nathan tasted the wine, which was indeed good for such a simple place. "Impressive," he replied, not sure what else to say. 50 years with the same person seemed alien to someone who could barely maintain a relationship for more than a few months. Emily nodded and headed back to the kitchen. Nathan looked at his phone again, but the laughter and chatter from the celebration kept drawing his attention. They were noisy, yes, but there was something magnetic about their genuine joy. His dinner arrived, and it was surprisingly delicious. Simple food, but prepared with care. Nathan realized he couldn't remember the last time he truly savored a meal, without rushing between meetings. He was finishing when he noticed Emily approaching a side door he hadn't seen before. She opened it, and out came a girl of about 7 years old. The child wore dark glasses and held a white cane. She was blind. "Is everything okay with your lesson, sweetie?" Emily asked, bending down to the girl's level. "Yes, Mommy. Ms. Gina helped me with math. I'm hungry." "Of course you are. Come on, I set your dinner aside." Nathan watched, intrigued, as Emily guided her daughter to a small table near the kitchen. The girl moved confidently despite her limitation. Emily helped her sit down and went to get a plate. When she returned, she placed the food in front of her daughter and began describing where each item was, gently guiding her hand to the fork. There was so much tenderness in that gesture, so natural, that Nathan felt a strange tightness in his chest, a kind of ache, as if something very old was waking up inside him. "Slow down, Grace," Emily said, laughing when the girl started eating enthusiastically. "The food's not going to run away." "But it's so good, Mom." Nathan couldn't stop watching, the ease with which they talked, the way Emily smiled at her daughter even though the girl couldn't see it. This was different from anything in his sterile world of business deals. "Anything else for you, sir?" Nathan almost jumped from his seat. He hadn't even noticed the hostess approach to clear his plate. "No, thank you. Just the check." While he waited, his eyes returned to Emily and Grace. The girl was now chatting excitedly, waving her hands. Emily listened with her full attention, as if nothing else in the world mattered in that moment. Nathan tried to recall the last time anyone had looked at him that way. With full as undivided attention, he came up blank. He paid the bill, left a generous tip, and got up to leave. He passed by the table where mother and daughter were talking. "Is the moon round like a ball, Mom?" he heard the girl ask. "Yes, honey. And tonight, it's full and shining brightly in the sky. I wish I could see it. I know, my love. But you know, you see things many people can't. You see with your heart." Nathan stopped involuntarily, those simple words hitting him like a punch to the gut. See with your heart, such a foreign concept in his life that it felt like it came from another planet. Emily noticed his presence and gave him a polite smile. "Was everything all right, sir?" "Excellent," he replied, feeling strangely awkward. This is a nice place." Grace turned her head in the direction of his voice. "Who's there, Mom?" "A customer, honey." The girl smiled in Nathan's approximate direction. "Did you like the pasta? My mom makes the best sauce in the world." Nathan looked at Emily, who blushed slightly. "Actually, I only help in the kitchen sometimes. My aunt owns the restaurant." "The sauce was really very good," Nathan replied, feeling odd about talking to a child. "You should come back more often," Grace said with childlike candor. "You sound sad." "Grace," Emily gently reprimanded her. "Sorry," said the girl, not sounding very apologetic. "But he does sound sad, Mom. I can hear it in his voice." Nathan was at a loss for words. How could a child who couldn't see him perceive something people who worked with him for years never noticed? "I apologize," Emily said, looking embarrassed. "Grace can be very perceptive." "It's fine," Nathan replied, still unsettled. Well, never mind. Have a good night." He left the restaurant feeling strange, as if he had witnessed something he wasn't supposed to see, not because it was inappropriate, but because it was too intimate, too valuable for eyes accustomed only to spreadsheets and contracts. Inside his car, instead of starting the engine, he sat there looking at the restaurant's simple facade. Through the window, he could still see Emily and Grace talking. The girl was laughing at something her mother said. Nathan grabbed his phone and looked at the screen. 27 unread emails, 5 text messages. His normal, efficient, solitary life waiting for him. But for the first time in a long while, he didn't feel like diving back in. He started the car and drove home, the image of Emily feeding her daughter with such care still vivid in his mind. The love between them was almost tangible, a stark contrast to the empty penthouse awaiting him. He parked in the garage of his luxurious building and took the private elevator. In the mirror, he saw his own reflection. Perfect suit, impeccable hair, empty eyes. "You sound sad," the girl's words echoed in his mind. Sad? No, he was successful, respected, wealthy. Yet, as he entered his silent apartment, with its panoramic view of a city he never actually enjoyed, Nathan Bennett felt a heaviness in his chest that no bank account could relieve. Maybe, just maybe, the little girl named Grace saw better than he did, even without her sight. Nathan couldn't sleep well that night. He tossed and turned on his king-sized bed, his thoughts returning repeatedly to that scene in the restaurant. Emily guiding her daughter's hand, explaining where each food item was on the plate, describing the moon that the girl would never see. By 6 in the morning, he was already up, despite having slept only about 4 hours. He went through his usual routine, but without his usual focus. In the building's gym, he lost track of his reps. In the shower, He stayed longer than usual, letting the hot water run over his tense shoulders. During the morning meeting, he caught himself thinking about Grace's words. "You sound sad." How could a blind child notice something he couldn't admit to himself? "Nathan, Nathan." Derek's voice brought him back to reality. The entire executive team was staring at him, waiting for an answer. "Sorry, could you repeat the question?" Derek frowned, clearly puzzled. Nathan never lost focus in meetings. "I asked if you approved the budget for the digital marketing campaign." "Oh yes, sure." "Approved." Later, back in his office, Melanie came in with the afternoon schedule. "Mr. Yamamoto cancelled the video conference. We rescheduled for Friday, and the investment committee wants an emergency meeting about the AI startup acquisition." "Right," Nathan answered automatically, gazing out the window. "Is everything okay, Mr. Bennett?" The question caught him off guard. Melanie rarely asked personal questions. "Why wouldn't it be?" he replied, more harshly than he intended. "You approved the marketing budget without questioning a single figure," she said, a slight smile on her face. "In 6 years, that's never happened." Nathan looked away, suddenly uncomfortable with his assistant's keen observation. "I have other priorities right now." Melanie nodded, as professional as ever, and left. Nathan remained alone, staring at the computer screen without really seeing it. What was happening to him? Why couldn't he stop thinking about that waitress and her daughter? Maybe he needed to see them again, just to understand why that scene had affected him so much. Purely a professional curiosity, nothing more. At 7 p.m., Nathan dismissed his driver. "I'm going out for dinner and then I'll catch a cab," he explained, not mentioning his destination. 15 minutes later, he parked again in front of Nonna's kitchen. Through the window, he saw the place was busier than the previous night. He adjusted his tie and walked in. The same elderly hostess greeted him. "Oh, you're back. A table for one again?" Nathan nodded, surprised she remembered him. He followed her to a table not the same as the night before, but with a good view of the restaurant. His eyes immediately searched for Emily. He found her serving a nearby table, efficient and attentive to her customers. Her hair was not pulled back this time, and it cascaded in soft waves over her shoulders, making her look younger. "Good evening. Welcome back." Emily stood there, looking at him with a hint of recognition and a polite smile. "Thank you," Nathan replied, feeling oddly nervous like a teenager. "Dinner was excellent last night." "I'm glad you enjoyed it. What would you like tonight? What do you recommend?" Emily tilted her head slightly. "Well, today we have a lasagna that's the house specialty, and our tomato and basil soup is particularly good. I'll try the lasagna then. And the same wine as yesterday." "Excellent choice." As she walked away, Nathan scanned the restaurant for the little girl, but she was nowhere to be seen. When Emily returned with the wine, he couldn't resist asking, "Is your daughter not here tonight?" A shadow passed over her face, quickly replaced by her professional smile. "Grace is staying at my sister's tonight. I have a double shift." Nathan nodded, feeling invasive for asking, what right did he have to question her life? "May I ask something?" Emily said suddenly, surprising him. "Sure. You don't seem like the kind of person who frequents a family restaurant like this. What brought you here?" The candor of her question caught him off guard. "To be honest, I wanted something different. I'm tired of the fancy places where everyone talks about the same things." Emily smiled, a genuine smile this time. "Well, this place is definitely different. No frills, just good food." "And real people," Nathan added, surprised by his own words. She looked intrigued, but another customer called, and she walked away. Nathan sipped his wine, watching the restaurant's activity. It was alive, filled with families, couples, friends, real conversations and laughter, not the subdued murmur of the upscale establishments he usually visited. The lasagna arrived, and it was delicious. Nathan ate slowly, which was rare for him, savoring each bite. From time to time, he observed Emily at work. She moved gracefully among the tables, chatting briefly with customers, many of whom seemed to know her well. By 9 o'clock, the place had calmed down. Emily passed by his table to clear the empty dish. "How was it?" "Excellent." Better than many five-star restaurants I know. She smiled, looking genuinely pleased. I'll let my aunt know. She'll be thrilled. Your aunt is the owner. Yes, Nonna Sophia. She gave me this job when I moved here with Grace 3 years ago. Nathan hesitated, but curiosity got the better of him. It must be hard. Working and taking care of a child with special needs. Emily's face hardened a bit. Grace has a visual impairment, but she's extremely capable and independent. We manage just fine. There was a fierce pride in her voice, and Nathan realized he'd touched a sensitive subject. I didn't mean to offend. You didn't, she answered, softening her expression. It's just that many people see the disability first, not the amazing child she is. Emily was interrupted by the ringing of her cell phone. She took it out of her pocket, glanced at the screen and frowned. Excuse me, I need to take this. Nathan watched her move to a quieter corner of the restaurant. Even from a distance, he could tell the conversation wasn't pleasant. She gestured, ran a hand through her hair, clearly upset. When she returned, her face was tense. So is everything okay? Nathan found himself asking, surprised by his own concern. Emily hesitated, as if deciding whether to answer. Just a problem with Grace's school, she said finally. Nothing major, but her expression said otherwise. Nathan called out to her as she turned away. Emily. She turned around, surprised at how familiar her name sounded on his lips. Is there anything I can do to help? The question seemed to catch her off guard. She studied him for a moment, as if assessing his intentions. Why would you care? She finally asked. Not hostile, just genuinely curious. Nathan swallowed. It was a fair question. Why did he care? I'm not sure, he answered honestly. And maybe because your daughter said I seem sad, and nobody has ever noticed that before. Emily looked at him for a long moment, and then a small smile appeared on her lips. Grace has that gift. She truly sees people. When Emily returned with the receipt, he already had his card in hand. Now listen, he said hesitantly. I know it's none of my business, but if you need help with anything related to your daughter's school, I know some people who could be useful. That's very kind of you, but we're fine. Really? Nathan nodded, accepting the polite refusal. He signed the receipt and stood up to leave. It was a pleasure serving you again, Mr. Bennett, Nathan Bennett. Something crossed her face, recognition. Bennett Technologies, he nodded, surprised. You know it. I read about you in a magazine, she answered. I think it's impressive what you've built. Nathan felt a strange pride at her genuine compliment, different from when executives or investors flattered him for personal gain. Thank you. I hope to see you and Grace again, Emily smiled, and Nathan could tell she meant it. He truly did want to see them again. Sassy that it was still early when he arrived at his empty apartment. Normally, he would open his laptop and work until late, but tonight he felt restless. He walked to the balcony and looked out over the illuminated city below. So many lights, so many lives. Who were the people behind each lit window? Did they have families? Did they love their jobs? Were they happy? For the first time in years, Nathan wondered if he was happy. He had achieved everything he'd planned professionally. Fortune, power, respect in the market. But for what? For whom? His phone rang. It was Derek. Hey, robot. Still awake? I'm on the balcony, looking at the city. A pause on the other end. Surprised. Are you okay? You never look at the city. You drunk? Nathan laughed. I'm sober, just thinking. Who are you, and what have you done with my workaholic friend? Very funny. I've been thinking about what you said yesterday, about me never doing anything but work. And I think you're right. Another pause. Okay, now I'm worried. Should I call a doctor? Derek, are you happy? The question slipped out before Nathan could stop it. There was silence on the other end. Wow, this is serious, Derek finally said. Yes, I'm happy. I love my job, but I also have Amanda and the kids. I have a life outside the office, you know. Nathan felt a pang in his chest. Derek had a wife he loved, 2 young children, a suburban house with a yard and a dog. Everything Nathan had always considered unnecessary, distractions from his main objective, success. What happened, Nathan? Why these questions now? Nathan thought of Emily and Grace, of the love between them, so visible, so real. I met someone who made me think. Derek whistled. A woman, hallelujah! It's not like that, Nathan protested, although something inside him stirred at the thought. It's more complicated. It always is. Look, whoever she is, if she's making you think beyond spreadsheets, she already has my respect. When he hung up, Nathan stayed there, gazing at the city, behind one of those distant windows. Maybe Emily was reading to Grace before bed or describing the moon that her daughter couldn't see. He shook his head, trying to dispel these thoughts. What was happening to him? Why couldn't he get those two out of his mind? Foeti swooped him the next morning. Instead of going straight to the office, Nathan made an unplanned stop, a toy store. May I help you, sir? A saleswoman asked. I'm looking for something for a blind child, he said, feeling awkward. A 7-year-old girl. The saleswoman looked surprised, then recovered quickly. We have some great sensory toys and also tactile books. 30 minutes later, Nathan left the store with a gift-wrapped package. He wasn't sure if it was appropriate, but something pushed him to do this. In the car, he checked his phone. 10 missed calls from Melanie. One important meeting he had completely forgotten. But for the first time in years, Nathan Bennett didn't feel that familiar anxiety. Instead, he thought about the smile that would light up Grace's face when she felt the gift in her hands. Nonna's kitchen, he decided. He would go back tonight, and the next night if necessary. He wanted to understand what it was that mother and daughter shared, that connection that made his own world seem so empty in comparison. In the rearview mirror, he saw his own reflection and noticed something surprising. He was smiling. Nathan waited in his car, watching the small school building. Luminous Special School had a modest facade, with a tidy garden and an adapted playground. Emily had finally conceded and allowed him to pick Grace up from class while she covered an extra shift at the restaurant. Just this once, she had said reluctantly. Man, go straight to the restaurant afterward. He agreed, without mentioning that he had cancelled 2 important meetings to be there at exactly 3 p.m. The bell rang and children began to come out, some with canes, others holding teachers' hands. Nathan felt a tightness in his chest watching their excited faces, despite the challenges they faced. After nearly a month of visiting the restaurant and gradually getting closer to Emily and Grace, he still found himself amazed by that feeling of empathy. Grace appeared at the door, her white cane moving confidently in front of her, her pink backpack on her shoulders. A teacher accompanied her. Nathan got out of the car and walked toward her. Hello, I'm here to pick up Grace Bennett. I'm Nathan. The teacher eyed him suspiciously. Emily told me you'd come, Grace said, before the teacher could reply. I recognize your footsteps. They're quick and purposeful. Nathan smiled, still in awe of the girl's sharp perceptions. The teacher checked a list. I need to see your ID, please. After the formalities, Nathan guided Grace to the car, naturally adjusting to her pace. Over the past few weeks, he had learned a lot about interacting with a blind child, never grabbing her arm without warning, describing the surroundings, being precise with directions. How was school today? He asked, helping her with her seatbelt. Great. I learned more Braille, and the teacher said I'm the fastest reader in the class. That's amazing, Grace. Nathan, can we stop at the park before going to the restaurant, please? She clasped her hands in a pleading gesture. Just for 15 minutes. Your mom said we should go straight. She won't know, Grace argued with the infallible logic of a child. And I love feeling the sun on my face before sunset. It's still warm, but it doesn't burn. How could he say no to that? Nathan gave in, driving to a small nearby park. He guided Grace to a bench under a big tree. Describe the park for me, she asked, sitting down and turning her face to feel the breeze. Nathan looked around, realizing he had never really observed a park before. He always hurried past these green spaces in the city. Well, there's a huge tree shading us, with lush green leaves swaying in the wind. To our right, there's a playground with swings and slides, full of kids. In front of us, there's a wide lawn where some people are having picnics, and a golden retriever is running after a ball. Grace smiled, absorbing every word. What color is the sky right now? Nathan looked up. Blue. A deep blue with a few puffy white clouds. Blue like what? Mom always compares colors to things I can feel. Nathan thought for a moment. Blue like the feeling of cool water on your hands on a hot day, like the taste of blueberries, like the sound of calming music. Grace giggled, delighted. You're good at this, better than Mom's last boyfriend. He'd just say, blue like, blue stuff. Nathan felt a pang of something strange at the mention of Emily's last boyfriend, but quickly pushed it aside. Nathan, can I touch your face? Grace asked suddenly, so I know what you look like. The question surprised him. Sure, he answered, leaning toward her. Grace's small hands rose cautiously, then settled on his cheeks. Her fingers lightly traced his eyebrows, nose, and chin, like a sculptor studying her work. So you have lines here, she said, touching the corners of his eyes. Mom says they come from smiling a lot or worrying a lot. Which is it for you? Nathan swallowed, probably more worry than smiles. That's sad, Grace said simply. You should smile more. How do you feel when you smile? I don't know, he answered honestly. I don't think about it much. Grace frowned, as if the concept was incomprehensible to her. When I smile, I feel like bubbles are rising inside me. You've never felt that? Nathan tried to recall the last time he'd smiled genuinely, not the polite smile for clients or the satisfied smile when closing a big deal. I think I did, a long time ago. Grace tilted her head, her blind eyes seeming to probe his soul. You work a lot, don't you? Mom says you're very important. I do work a lot, yes, he admitted. But I'm not sure I'm that important. If you work so much, it must be something special. Nathan thought about his endless meetings, spreadsheets, acquisitions, stock prices on computer screens. Actually, it's not that special. Then why do you do it? The simple question hit him harder than he expected. Why indeed? Since when had he stopped loving what he did? I guess because I'm good at it, he finally answered. And because it's what I've always done. Grace considered this. I do things because they make me happy, like listening to music, feeling the wind, or eating Nonna's chocolate ice cream. Nathan smiled. You're wiser than a lot of adults I know, Grace. She grinned, proud. So Mom always says I was born with an old soul. Then, abruptly changing the subject, what's your favorite color? I guess blue. Mine is yellow, Grace declared. I've never seen it, but Mom said it's the color of the sun, sunflowers, and happiness. I can feel yellow when the sun warms my face. Nathan watched how she turned her face skyward, as if she could absorb the light through her skin. There was so much joy in that simple gesture that something within him shifted. You know, Grace continued, people always think it's sad that I can't see, but it's not so bad. It's not. No, I hear things nobody else hears. I can tell when someone is sad just by how they breathe. I can smell the rain before it falls. And I never judge people by how they look. Nathan felt humbled by the innocent wisdom of this child. Sometimes people treat me like I'm stupid just because I'm blind, Grace went on. The other day in a store, the sales lady asked my mum if I wanted a lollipop, like I couldn't answer for myself. That must be frustrating. A bit. But Mum always says people are afraid of what they don't understand. And I shouldn't be upset. Just show them I can do things my way. Nathan thought of how many times in his life he had quickly judged people, dismissed opinions, ignored feelings. How many graces had he overlooked over the years? Hey, want to push me on the swings? She asked suddenly. I love swinging. It feels like flying. The 15 minutes stretched into 40. Nathan pushed the swing, described clouds shaped like animals, and listened to Grace excitedly talk about her dreams of becoming a musician. Finally, he checked his watch and realized they were really late. We need to go, Grace. Your mum will be worried. But we're having fun, she protested. Just 5 more minutes. We already extended our time quite a bit. Besides, I promised your mum. Grace sighed dramatically, but didn't argue. All right, promises are important. Mum always says that if you don't keep your promises, you're not trustworthy. Those simple words struck Nathan deeper than she could have known. How many promises had he broken over the years in the name of business? How many cancelled dinners, forgotten birthdays, dropped commitments. In the car, Grace kept chattering happily. "Nathan, do you think fish know they're in water, or is it like us and air?" The question caught him off guard. "I've never thought about it. I think about that kind of stuff all the time. Like, can dogs see colors differently? And do flowers feel pain when we pick them?" "Mom says I have a very active imagination." Nathan smiled. "Yeah, that's a wonderful quality. Do you have an active imagination too?" He thought about how rigid and predictable his life had become. "Not like you. I think I lost it somewhere along the way." "You can get it back," Grace said with absolute certainty. "Her mom says it's never too late to find things we've lost." When they arrived at the restaurant, Emily was waiting at the door, clearly anxious. Her face lit up with relief when she saw them. "Where were you? I was worried." "I'm sorry," Nathan began. We went to the park," Grace interrupted excitedly. "Nathan pushed me on the swing and described clouds. One looked like a dancing elephant." Emily looked at Nathan with a mix of disapproval and something softer in her eyes. "I asked you two to come straight here." "It was my fault." Nathan immediately took the blame. Grace asked, and I couldn't say no. Emily sighed, but a small smile tugged at her lips. "She has that effect on people. Nathan has a really great imagination, Mom," Grace continued, bouncing happily. "He said blue feels like cool water on your hands." Emily raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised. "He did he?" Nathan felt himself blushing, oddly pleased by Emily's impressed look. "You two must be hungry," she finally said. "Come inside. Nonna made lasagna tonight." In the following weeks, a new routine emerged. Nathan started leaving the office earlier, around 4 o'clock, to Derek's confusion and Melanie's mild concern. In reality, he was spending more and more time with Grace and Emily. He helped Grace with homework, read to her, took them both to the park. At first, Emily remained cautious, clearly unsure of his intentions. "Why are you doing all this?" she asked him one night, after Grace had gone to bed and they were having coffee in the small kitchen of her apartment. "Honestly, I don't know," Nathan replied. "I just know I feel more alive when I'm with you both." Emily studied him, as though trying to solve a complex puzzle. "You're not what I expected," she finally said. "What do you mean?" "I read about you. The ruthless entrepreneur. The sleepless tech baron, they called you. You seem so human when you're with Grace." Nathan reflected on that. Maybe she's teaching me to be human again. At the office, as people noticed the changes, Melanie saw that he no longer scheduled meetings past 5. The cleaning staff was surprised to find Mr. Bennett greeting them by name. Derek was amazed when Nathan declined an important call to finish talking to a young intern who had asked for advice. In a particularly tense meeting about budget cuts, everyone expected Nathan's usual cold, calculated approach. Instead, he stood up and said, "Before we cut positions, I want us to consider the human impact. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're people with families and dreams." The stunned silence in the room made Nathan realize just how much he had changed. Later, Derek cornered him in his office. "Who are you and what did you do with my friend?" Nathan laughed. "What are you talking about? Human impact? People with dreams? Since when do you care about that?" "Maybe I'm evolving," Nathan replied simply. Derek observed him. "It's because of that woman, isn't it? The one who made you think." Nathan hesitated. "It's not just her, it's her daughter too. They showed me something different." Derek smiled, genuinely happy. "Whoever they are, they have my eternal gratitude. I was starting to worry you'd become a total robot." In the evenings, in his once cold and empty apartment, Nathan began making changes. He bought plants, replaced heavy drapes with ones that let in more light. At a bookstore, he purchased books unrelated to business, novels, poetry, philosophy, and he started sleeping better, waking up without that constant anxiety, smiling more readily. One Saturday afternoon, he took Grace to a special children's concert where they were allowed to touch the instruments after the performance. The look on her face when she felt the vibrations of a cello against her chest, the pure joy when she pressed piano keys for the first time, those moments were worth more than any multi-million-dollar acquisition. Do you think I can learn piano even if I can't see the keys? Grace asked hopefully. I'm absolutely sure, Nathan answered. Have you heard of Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, great musicians who couldn't see? Grace's face lit up with a radiant smile. I'll ask Mom if I can take lessons. But, her smile faltered, it's probably too expensive. Nathan felt a pang in his chest. He had more money than he could ever spend, while this wonderful child held back her dreams over finances. What if I talk to your mom about it? Grace shook her head. She's proud. She doesn't like accepting help. Nathan had noticed that. Emily refused any offer that felt like charity, insisting they could manage on their own, as they always had. You know what I learned from you, Grace, he said, kneeling to her level, that sometimes we need to let people help us. There's no shame in that. Grace frowned thoughtfully. Like when you helped me cross the street. Exactly. You could do it alone, but it's easier and safer with help, right? She nodded slowly. So you want to help Mom too? If she'll let me? Grace smiled, a knowing smile beyond her years. She likes you, you know? She's different when you're around. Lighter. Nathan felt his heart skip a beat. How do you know? By her voice. It's softer. And she laughs more. Grace took his hand, and her heart beats faster. I can hear it when I'm close. Nathan didn't know what to say. How could a 7-year-old who couldn't see perceive things that most adults with perfect vision never noticed? Later that night, after he dropped Grace off, Nathan sat in his car for a long time, thinking. His phone rang, a work emergency, something that would normally have him rushing to the office. You can handle it without me, he told the manager on the other end, surprising them. I trust the team. If needed, I'll be available in the morning. He hung up and looked toward the window of the small apartment where Emily was now putting Grace to bed. The soft light shone through the curtains. Something inside him had changed, something fundamental. It was as though Grace, who couldn't see the physical world, had somehow given him a pair of glasses to see what really mattered. He smiled, feeling those soap bubbles Grace had described rising in his chest. Yes, that was exactly it. Heavy rain was falling that Wednesday night when Nathan parked in front of Nonna's kitchen. It had become a routine for him to dine there at least 3 times a week. The staff knew him by now, and Nonna Sophia always insisted on bringing him a special dessert that wasn't on the menu. The restaurant was almost empty due to the storm. Emily smiled when she saw him. That smile that made his heart quicken in a way he still didn't fully understand. I thought you wouldn't come out in this downpour, she said, leading him to his usual table. I promised Grace I'd bring her the new book, he replied, pulling a package out of his briefcase. Where is she? Emily's expression changed. At home. She's had a bad cough since yesterday. Nathan frowned, concerned. Is it serious? The doctor said it's just a cold, but... She hesitated. Grace has sensitive lungs. I have to keep an eye on her. Shouldn't you be home with her? Sophia's with her now. I can't afford to miss another shift this month. Her eyes avoided his. Will you have the usual? Nathan nodded, noticing the fatigue on her face. As she walked away, he watched her, her slightly slumped shoulders, the dark circles she tried to hide with makeup. Over the past few weeks, he'd noticed signs of worries she tried to conceal. Dinner was served, but Nathan barely tasted it. His thoughts were on little Grace, sick at home, and on her mother who had to work despite her worries. When the restaurant emptied further, Emily approached again. How's the risotto? Excellent, as always, he answered automatically. Then, after a pause, Emily, if Grace is sick, why not go home? I could talk to Sophia. She pressed her lips together. I'm fine. I need the full shift. Nathan studied her face. Something is going on, isn't it? Emily looked away. It's nothing you need to worry about. I do worry, he answered simply. About you and Grace. Something in his voice must have resonated with Emily, because she sighed and sat down briefly across from him. The landlord raised the rent again. It's the second increase in 6 months. She ran a hand through her hair. I'm looking for another place, but prices are crazy, and with Grace's needs... Nathan felt a pang in his chest. Is there anything I can do to help? No, Emily responded quickly. We'll manage. We always have. Nathan wanted to insist, but he knew Emily's pride well by now. Over the past weeks, he had learned that direct offers of help were always refused. "At least let me take the book to Grace tonight, so you don't have to go out of your way." Emily hesitated, but eventually agreed. "She'll love that. She's been talking about you a lot." Nathan felt a warmth in his chest at those words. Close to 1 and the rain was still pouring down when Emily finally finished her shift. Nathan waited by the door, determined not to let her take public transportation in the storm. "I'll drive you home," he said, leaving no room for argument. Emily seemed ready to protest, but a particularly loud thunder sealed the deal. In the car, the silence was comfortable, broken only by the sound of rain on the roof and the windshield wipers. Nathan listened as she gave directions to a neighborhood on the city's outskirts, far from places he usually went. "Turn right at the next intersection," Emily instructed. "Fast, it's that brown building." Nathan parked in front of an old building, clearly in poor condition. The paint was peeling, several windows were cracked and patched with tape. "You live here?" he asked, unable to hide his surprise. Emily stiffened. "It's what we can afford." "I'm sorry, I didn't mean—" "It's fine," she interrupted. "I know it's not the kind of place you're used to." "Can I come up to give Grace the book?" he asked, trying to fix his faux pas. Emily hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. "Please, I promised her." Finally, Emily nodded. "We're on the 4th floor. The elevator doesn't work." They climbed 4 flights of poorly lit stairs, the smell of dampness strong. Nathan noticed water stains on the walls. On the 4th floor, Emily led him to an apartment at the end of the corridor. When she opened the door, Nathan was met by the smell of soup and the sound of a child's coughing. Sophia sat in the small living room next to Grace, who was wrapped in a blanket on the sofa. "Nathan!" Grace exclaimed when she heard his steps, her pale face lighting up. Her excitement quickly turned into a cough. "Hey, princess," he said gently, approaching. "I heard you weren't feeling well." "I'm better now," she replied, trying to sound brave. "Did you bring the book you promised?" "Of course." Nathan handed her the package. "It's a special book with raised pages so you can feel the illustrations." As Grace opened the gift with eager hands, Nathan discreetly looked around. The apartment was small but neat, clearly well kept by Emily, but the walls had large patches of dampness, especially in the corner of what he assumed was Grace's room. Sophia approached, speaking quietly. "She needs to get out of this place. The dampness isn't good for her lungs." Emily shot her aunt a warning look, but it was too late. "I'm already looking for another place," Emily said defensively. "Everything will be fine." Nathan pretended not to notice the tension. He sat next to Grace, who was exploring the tactile pages of the book with a look of wonder. "It's a story about a girl who learns to play piano," he explained. "I thought you might like it." "I love it," Grace said, followed by another bout of coughing. "Would you read it to me?" Nathan looked to Emily for permission. She nodded, a tired smile on her face. "I'll make some tea," Sophia said, heading to the tiny kitchen. "Would you like some?" While reading to Grace, Nathan couldn't stop noticing the apartment's condition. The ceiling showed signs of leaks, and when a strong gust of wind hit, a trickle of water seeped through the window in Grace's room. Grace fell asleep before the story ended, exhausted from her cold. Nathan watched her for a moment, so small, so vulnerable, yet so strong. Emily walked him to the door while Sophia stayed with the sleeping girl. "Thank you for the book," she said quietly. "You didn't have to." "It was my pleasure. I hope she gets better soon." Emily nodded, but Nathan could see the worry in her eyes. Back in his car, he couldn't bring himself to start the engine right away. The image of the damp apartment, Grace coughing, Emily's exhaustion, it all haunted him. He had so much, more money than he would ever need, empty apartments he owned purely as investments. And here was this family struggling in conditions that could harm a child's health. But he knew Emily would never accept direct charity. Her pride was too strong, her independence too precious. He needed another way to help. And the next morning, Nathan cleared his entire schedule, something unprecedented. Sitting in his office, he called Melanie and Derek for an urgent meeting. "I need your help with a new project," he announced as soon as they closed the door. Derek raised an eyebrow. "Must be important if you cleared your whole day. Who's the client?" "It's not a client," Nathan said. It's personal. Melanie and Derek exchanged surprised looks. Nathan Bennett never had personal projects. I want to open a cafe. A small is welcoming place near the financial district. A cafe? Derek looked baffled. Since when are you into gastronomy? It's not about gastronomy. It's about... Nathan hesitated, choosing his words carefully. It's about creating an opportunity for someone. Over the next hour, Nathan explained what he wanted. Specific location, the kind of atmosphere, everything designed to be commercially viable but also perfect for Emily. Who is this woman? Derek finally asked. Someone special, was all Nathan would say. Melanie, I need you to find a suitable property by the end of the week. Derek, I want a full business plan, something that looks legitimate, not disguised charity. What about those apartments on Mason Street? Melanie suggested. The ones you bought last year as an investment. They're vacant. And the ground floor has a commercial space perfect for a cafe. Nathan almost smiled. It was perfect. The building was 10 minutes from the financial district, in an up-and-coming area, recently renovated before he purchased it. Excellent. Derek worked the numbers. I want the cafe to be legitimately profitable, and the manager's salary needs to be substantial but realistic. When they left, Derek stayed behind. I've never seen you like this, he commented. This woman must be really special. She and her daughter, Nathan corrected. They changed something in me, Derek smiled. It's about time someone did. And a week later, Nathan invited Emily to lunch on her day off. Grace was at school, and he suggested a quiet cafe near the park. Emily arrived right on time, wearing a simple dress Nathan hadn't seen before. She looked nervous. It feels strange to meet like this outside the restaurant, she commented, sitting down. Thank you for accepting, Nathan said. How's Grace? Better. The antibiotics helped, but the doctor says we have to be vigilant. This isn't the first time she's had respiratory issues. Nathan nodded, gathering courage for what he needed to say. Emily, I wanted to talk to you about a business opportunity. She frowned slightly, obviously puzzled. I'm opening a cafe in the financial district. Nothing huge, but classy, focused on people who want quality during the day and a relaxed environment in the evening. Emily watched him, still unsure of where this was going. I need a manager, he continued. Someone with experience in restaurants, good with people, efficient, trustworthy. Her eyes widened in realization. Nathan. The pay is competitive, he added quickly, before she could refuse. It includes full health benefits and flexible hours to accommodate Grace's needs. Why me? Emily asked bluntly. Because there are people more qualified. Because you're exactly what I need. I've seen how you practically run Nonna's kitchen when Sophia is in the back, how you deal with suppliers, employees, customers. You have a natural talent. Emily struggled with her emotions. Is this charity, Nathan? It's business, he said firmly. I need this cafe to succeed. I wouldn't offer the job to someone who couldn't make that happen. I'm not sure, she bit her lip. I have a responsibility to Sophia. She gave me a chance when I needed it most. I've already talked to her, Nathan admitted. She thinks you should take it. Emily looked surprised. While you spoke to her before speaking to me, I had to make sure I wasn't hurting her restaurant, Nathan said, handing her a folder. Here's the formal offer. Salary, benefits, responsibilities, all detailed. Take it home, think it over, no rush. Emily took the folder, still hesitant. It sounds too good to be true. It's not. It's just a good deal for both of us. She studied him for a long moment. You've changed, since that first day you walked into the restaurant, Nathan smiled. For the better, I hope. Definitely for the better. 3 days later, Emily called to accept the offer. Her voice trembled slightly on the phone. Are you sure you won't regret this? I've never managed a place from scratch. I'm absolutely certain, Nathan replied, unable to hide the delight in his voice. When can you start? I need to give Sophia 2 weeks' notice. No problem. We'll use that time to finalize the space and hire the staff. You'll have a say in every decision. In the weeks that followed, Nathan felt a kind of energy he hadn't experienced since the early days of his own company. Watching the transformation of the commercial space into an elegant yet cozy cafe, working side by side with Emily on every detail, brought him a sense of fulfillment unlike anything he'd felt before. Emily bloomed more and more each day, her confidence soaring as she weighed in on layout decisions, the menu, the type of customers they aimed to attract. She had an eye for detail and an intuitive sense of what would work. "We should have a small kids' corner in that corner," she suggested one day. "Just a little one, but inviting. Plenty of business people are parents and might need to bring their kids sometimes." Nathan smiled. It was exactly the kind of idea that would never have occurred to him before, but it made perfect sense. Throughout this time, Grace continued to have occasional coughing spells, especially on rainy nights. The constant worry on Emily's face was a reminder of the true purpose behind this project. Quietly, Nathan worked with a trusted real estate agent. In the same building where the cafe would be located, his building, actually, there were apartments available. He instructed the agent to offer one of them to Emily under a special employee lease, significantly lower than the market rate. "But don't mention that I own the building," he insisted. "Make it sound like a legitimate company program, not a one-off exception." The agent, used to unusual requests from wealthy clients, merely nodded. 2 weeks before the cafe's opening, Emily called Nathan, her voice shaking with excitement. "You won't believe it. I got an apartment in that new building near the cafe. It has 2 bedrooms, it's fully accessible for Grace, and the rent is within what I can afford on the new salary." "That's wonderful," Nathan replied, keeping his voice neutral despite his inner joy. "I should make getting to work a lot easier. The best part is that it has no dampness. The doctor said this could make a huge difference for Grace's lungs." After hanging up, Nathan stood gazing out his office window, a broad smile on his face. Derek walked in and caught him like that. "Someone looks happy today," Derek remarked. "I am," Nathan admitted. "They are genuinely happy." Derek leaned against the door, observing his friend. "You know, we've been running this company for 15 years. We've achieved more than we ever dreamed, but I've never seen you smile like this over numbers on a spreadsheet." Nathan thought about it. It was true. All the successful acquisitions, record profits, magazine covers, none had given him the kind of joy he felt now. "It's different," he agreed. "I always thought success was about achievements, numbers, recognition. And now I realize it's about impact, about truly making a difference in someone's life." Derek grinned. "Welcome to the Club of Humans, buddy." Moving day for Emily and Grace coincided with a rare sunny Saturday. Nathan offered his help, and to his surprise, Emily accepted. They didn't have much to move. Their belongings fit into a small moving van. Nathan was impressed at how carefully Emily treated each item, especially Grace's toys and books. "This teddy bear was the first present I gave her when I found out she couldn't see," Emily explained, holding up a worn plush bear. "So I stitched different textures onto it so she could feel them." Grace was beaming, exploring every corner of the new apartment with her cane, memorizing distances and positions. "My room has a big window," she exclaimed, feeling the breeze on her face. "I can feel the sun shining right on my bed." When everything was organized, Emily insisted on making dinner to thank Nathan for his help. It was the first time he had seen her cook, and he was impressed by her skill. A simple dinner at the small kitchen table, with Grace excitedly talking about how she would decorate her new room, felt more satisfying than any meal at a Michelin-starred restaurant. Later, after Grace fell asleep, exhausted from all the excitement, Emily invited Nathan to have a cup of coffee on the small balcony, a luxury they'd never had in the old apartment. "I never thought we'd live somewhere like this," she said, looking out at the city lights. "It feels like a dream." "You deserve it," Nathan said simply. Emily studied him in the warm glow of the balcony light. "Why are you doing all this, Nathan? And don't tell me it's just business." Nathan considered the question, knowing she deserved an honest answer. "At first, I just wanted to help. Seeing you and Grace in that damp apartment broke my heart." He paused. "But it's more than that now. You two taught me something I'd forgotten." "What's that?" "How to live, really live, not just exist." He looked at his hands. "I had everything money could buy, but I was empty inside. Grace showed me how to find joy in simple things. And you," he looked up into her eyes, You showed me what real strength is." Emily slowly reached out and touched his hand. It was a simple gesture, but loaded with meaning. "Thank you," she said softly. "Not just for the apartment or the job, but for seeing our worth." "I'm the one who should be thankful," Nathan replied, "for letting me be a part of your lives." They fell silent for a moment, hands lightly touching, the city lights twinkling below. Nathan felt a peace he had never experienced before, like he was exactly where he needed to be. In the next room, Grace slept soundly, no coughing, in a dry, safe bedroom. On the horizon, the lights of the soon-to-open cafe gleamed, a symbol of a new beginning for all of them. Nathan looked at Emily, her profile soft in the glow of the city, and he knew with absolute certainty that no professional success would ever make him as happy as this simple moment. He had found something money couldn't buy, a purpose, a connection, maybe even a family. And for the first time in his adult life, Nathan Bennett didn't feel alone anymore. The months passed quickly. Luminous Cafe, the name suggested by Grace in honor of her school, turned into a surprising success. Professionals and executives from the financial district enjoyed the warm while welcoming atmosphere, so different from impersonal coffee chains. Nathan watched these transformations with a mix of pride and fascination. At least 3 times a week, he had lunch at the cafe, usually at the same corner table, from where he could watch Emily at work. She moved confidently among the customers, smiling, remembering names, asking after people's families. "You're staring again," Derek commented on days he occasionally joined Nathan. "I am not," Nathan protested, quickly looking away. "Dude, I've worked with you for 15 years. Never saw you look at financial spreadsheets with as much interest as you look at her." Nathan didn't reply, but he knew his friend was right. Something had shifted between him and Emily over the last few months. A genuine friendship had blossomed, punctuated by moments of something deeper that neither was quite ready to name. On Saturdays, Nathan routinely spent part of the day with Emily and Grace. He took Grace to the park, to children's concerts, or just played with her in the new apartment, while Emily enjoyed a few rare hours to herself. "Nathan, can I ask you something?" Grace asked one afternoon while they built a castle out of tactile blocks he had bought for her. "Sure, princess. Do you like my mum?" The question, posed with typical childlike directness, caught him off guard. "Of course I do. Your mum is a wonderful person." Grace tilted her head, her unseeing eyes aimed in his direction, as though she could read his face. "No, I mean, do you like her? Like a boyfriend?" Nathan nearly choked on his own breath, unsure how to respond. "Because she smiles differently when you're around," Grace went on, carefully adding another block to the structure, "and her heart beats faster. I can hear it." "Grace," Nathan began, uncertain. "It's okay if you do. I'd like that," she declared simply. "You tell the best stories, and you're never in a hurry, and you make Mom laugh." Before Nathan could formulate a reply, Grace switched topics, asking if they could build a moat around the castle. But her words lingered in his mind the rest of the day. Later, when Emily returned from the salon, Nathan couldn't stop noticing what Grace had said, how she smiled differently at him, how she seemed more relaxed in his presence. "Thanks for staying with her," Emily said, setting her bag on the kitchen counter. "How was she?" "Grace is always perfect," Nathan replied. "We built an entire medieval castle with a moat and a drawbridge," Emily laughed, and the sound stirred something in Nathan's chest. "She's been obsessed with castles since you read that night story to her." "She's amazing, Emily. So smart, so perceptive." Emily's eyes shone with pride. "She is, isn't she?" They fell into a comfortable silence, one that had become common between them. "Want to stay for dinner?" Emily invited. "I'm making lasagna." "I'd love to." While Emily cooked, Nathan helped set the table. There was a domesticity in the scene that he had never experienced. The smell of homemade food, the sound of Grace humming in her room, the familiarity of knowing where the plates and silverware were. Over dinner, Grace dominated the conversation, recounting her music lessons and how she was learning to play the piano. Another change since they moved. Emily could now afford lessons with her stable salary. "My teacher says I have perfect pitch," Grace exclaimed proudly. That's when you can recognize any note just by hearing it. That's amazing, sweetie, Emily said, clearly moved by her daughter's progress. Nathan watched their interaction, that unconditional love between mother and daughter that had fascinated him from the start. But now he was part of that small circle, not just an onlooker. After Grace went to bed, Emily invited Nathan for a glass of wine on the balcony, another ritual they'd developed. She's thriving, Emily said, looking back toward Grace's room. To new lessons, a dry apartment, school close by, it's made such a difference. You made that happen, Nathan responded sincerely. Your work, your dedication. Emily sipped her wine, thoughtful. With your help. She looked at him. I never properly thanked you, Nathan. You changed our lives. You changed mine first, he answered softly. Their eyes met, and something passed between them, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that had grown over the past few months. Emily looked away first, a slight blush on her cheeks. It's strange, she said. Sometimes it feels like we've known each other for years, not months. I know what you mean. Emily toyed with the stem of her glass, as if wanting to say something more. Finally, she took a deep breath. Grace asked if you were my boyfriend. Nathan felt his face heat. She asked me something like that today. Emily laughed nervously. I'm sorry about that. She has no filter. No need to apologize, Nathan said, unless the idea bothers you. The silence that followed was charged with unresolved tension. It doesn't bother me, Emily finally whispered. But it scares me a little. Nathan's heart pounded. Why? She sighed, looking out over the glowing city below them. Because I have Grace to consider. I can't afford mistakes. And because, she hesitated, my track record with men hasn't been great. Grace's father? Nathan asked gently. Emily nodded. Mark came into my life when I was vulnerable. It was intense, fast, and when I found out I was pregnant, he vanished. She took another sip of wine. After that, I put on armor. Everything for Grace, nothing for myself. Nathan wanted to take her hand, but respected the space she seemed to need. I understand the fear, he said. I've never been good at relationships or vulnerability either. It's always been easier to bury myself in work, where the rules are clearer. Emily studied him. Why have you never married? You're successful, attractive. Nathan felt disconcerted by the compliment, but he answered honestly, I never met anyone who made me want more than the next business deal. Or maybe I never allowed it, until now. The air between them seemed charged with his barely veiled confession. Emily opened her mouth to reply, but was interrupted by her phone ringing. She frowned at the screen. Unknown number, probably the cafe. She answered, and her face went pale almost immediately. Nathan watched as she listened, her fingers gripping the glass so hard he worried it might shatter. How did you get my number? She finally asked, her voice tight. No, I don't think that's a good idea. Yes, she's fine, but... A long pause. I need to think about this. I can't discuss it right now. When she hung up, her hands were trembling. Emily, what happened? She looked at him, fear etched on her face. It was Mark, Grace's father. After 7 years with no word, no support, he wants to see his daughter. Oh, the revelation hung like a dark cloud over the following days. Emily was distant, worried, clearly battling an impossible decision. Nathan tried to give her space but stayed close, more concerned than he dared to admit. So why does he want to see her after all this time? She asked aloud 3 days later, when they finally discussed it. Why now? Did he explain? He said he's changed, that he's been sober for 2 years, that he wants to meet his daughter. Emily ran a hand through her hair, anxious. How can I trust him? How can I risk exposing Grace to someone who might vanish again? You can't, Nathan agreed, feeling a pang of something he recognized, surprisingly, as jealousy. But if he really wants to push for it, you can't legally stop him. Emily stared at him. How do you know that? Nathan hesitated. I talked to a lawyer friend. Just to understand the situation. Her expression changed. You did what? I just wanted to help, to understand what your rights are, what Grace's rights are. Without asking me, Emily stood abruptly. This isn't your decision, Nathan. It's my life, my daughter. I know, he said, taking a step back, realizing his mistake. I was always trying to help. Emily muttered. Always trying to fix things. Something about how she said that made him uneasy. What does that mean? Emily took a deep breath, as though making a tough call. I ran into Mr. Jensen yesterday. He mentioned how generous you were, offering a special discount on my rent. A discount, apparently, only I get. Nathan went pale. Emily, you own the building, don't you? All this time, you've been subsidizing our rent without telling me. It's not like... Then explain, she said, eyes shining with a mixture of hurt and anger. Am I some charity case to you, Nathan? A single mom who needs saving? No, of course not. I just wanted Grace to have a healthy place to live. If I'd offered directly, you would have refused. Because I don't want charity, Emily cried. I want to earn my way, show Grace we can achieve things on our own. Nathan felt cornered, only now grasping how his well-intentioned act might look to her. Are you so independent that you'd rather have Grace getting sick in that damp apartment than accept help? He blurted, immediately realizing he'd gone too far. Emily's face went white, like he'd slapped her. That was cruel. Emily, I'm sorry. I didn't mean... I think you should go now, she said, her voice calm but icy. Nathan left, feeling more lost than ever. 3 days passed without contact. Nathan watched Emily at the cafe, but she kept her distance, polite but distant. The absence of her and Grace from his life, even for such a short time, created a void that no amount of work could fill. At the office, Nathan found it impossible to focus. Derek walked in and found him staring out the window, the same report open on his laptop for hours. Earth to Nathan, are you okay? I messed everything up, Nathan admitted bluntly. With Emily, Nathan nodded and explained briefly. So you lied to her, Derek concluded. Doesn't matter how noble your intentions were. I know, but I was just trying to help. Maybe that's the issue, Derek suggested. You're so used to controlling everything, having all the answers, you don't realize when you're crossing boundaries. Nathan thought about that, a painful truth surfacing. I've never had a real relationship, he finally admitted. I don't know how to do this. No one's born knowing, Derek replied. Most of us stumble through this stuff as teenagers, not at 38. Nathan looked at his friend. And what if I can't be what they need? Have you considered that maybe Emily doesn't need you to be anything but yourself, just without the lies and the control? Derek's words struck Nathan like a bolt of clarity. He had always measured his worth by the problems he could solve, the obstacles he could remove. But Emily didn't need a savior. She was perfectly capable of taking care of herself and Grace. What was he really offering? That night, alone in his empty apartment, Nathan faced painful truths he had avoided for decades. Why had he never committed to anyone? Why did he keep people at arm's length? The answer was simple and terrible: fear. Fear of being vulnerable, of losing control, of caring so deeply that losing someone would be devastating. It was that fear that kept him buried in work. It was easier to be Nathan Bennett, brilliant businessman, than simply Nathan, with all the human flaws and insecurities. But Emily and Grace had broken through those defenses. He couldn't hide behind professional achievements or wealth with them, especially with Grace, whose uncanny perception saw straight into his soul. What did she see there? A man afraid to love, but desperate to be loved. His phone buzzed, dragging him out of his thoughts. It was Emily. Can we talk? She asked, her voice tense. It's about Grace. Mark visited us today. I'm on my way, he answered immediately. As he drove to their apartment, he realized that no matter what happened tonight, he couldn't return to the man he used to be. Emily and Grace had changed something fundamental in him. Now he had to find out if he was brave enough to embrace that change, and all the risks that came with it. Because for the first time in his life, Nathan Bennett had found something worth more than any fortune, a chance to love and be loved in return, even if it meant facing his deepest fears and letting go of the control that had defined his entire adult life. Emily couldn't sleep. For the third night in a row, she tossed and turned, her mind spinning with conflicting thoughts. In the next room, she could hear Grace's steady breathing, thankfully sound asleep, unaware of the emotional storm rattling her mother's life. She got up, and went to the window. The city lights gleamed outside, indifferent to the human dramas playing out within its buildings. Somewhere in that sea of lights was Nathan, probably just as awake as she was. Mark's visit the day before had thrown her off balance. He looked different, thinner, with short hair, clear eyes, free of the alcohol smell that haunted her memories. He said all the right things, that he'd changed, that he attended AA meetings, that he had a stable job now. "I just want to meet her, Emily," he'd pleaded. "I'm not asking for custody or unsupervised visits. I just want her to know she has a father." Grace had stayed in her room during the visit, at Emily's request. Now Emily had to decide whether to tell her about the man who had shown up after 7 silent years. And then there was Nathan. The sting of betrayal still burned. It wasn't just about the subsidized rent. It was the fact that he had kept that from her, treating her like someone who couldn't handle the truth, as if she were a child, not an adult, capable of making her own decisions. Emily had always taken pride in her independence. After Mark left, she vowed never to depend on a man again. She raised Grace on her own, sometimes working 2 jobs, studying at night, doing whatever it took to ensure her daughter had what she needed. Now she felt torn. The warmth she felt in her chest when she was with Nathan, that sense of finally finding someone she could trust, had been replaced by uncertainty. Who was he, really? The caring man who read stories to Grace in silly voices, or the businessman who was used to controlling everything around him? Her phone vibrated on the bedside table. A message from Nathan. "I can't sleep thinking about you two. Please, tell me how I can fix this." Emily stared at the message for a long time but didn't reply. She needed space to think, to decide without his influence. The next morning, Grace asked about Nathan over breakfast. "Isn't he coming to visit anymore? I miss him." Emily felt her chest tighten. "He's busy, sweetheart, lots of work." Grace frowned, unconvinced. "Did you two fight?" "Your voice changes when you talk about him now." It was useless trying to hide anything from Grace. Her keen hearing picked up nuances that others would miss. "We had a disagreement, but we'll work it out." "Was it because of the man who came here yesterday? I heard you talking." Emily nearly choked on her coffee. "You were listening." Grace lowered her head. "Guilty. Asked not on purpose, but you were speaking loudly and I heard him say he's my father." The world seemed to stop. Emily had planned carefully how she would tell Grace, how to prepare her daughter, how to protect her. And now? "Is it true?" Grace persisted. "Is that man really my father?" Emily took a deep breath, summoning courage. "Yes, sweetheart. Biologically, he is. Why didn't he ever come to see me before?" The simple question held so much pain that Emily felt tears burn her eyes. "He wasn't ready to be a dad. He had issues he needed to address." "What kind of issues?" "Adult problems, Grace. He wasn't well." Grace fell silent, turning her face toward the window as though she could see outside. "So is he coming back?" she asked quietly. "I don't know, honey. He said he wants to meet you, but I have to think if that's a good idea." "Why? Don't you want me to meet him?" Emily chose her words carefully. "I just want you to have people in your life who are reliable, people who won't disappear or hurt you." "Like Nathan," Grace said simply. That comment hit Emily like a punch. Was Nathan reliable, or just another man who would eventually let her down? "Finish your breakfast," Emily diverted. "You have a piano lesson later." Nathan paced around his office like a caged animal. He had cancelled his meetings, unable to focus on anything but the chaos his emotional life had become. Derek walked in unannounced. "What's going on with you? The board has been waiting for 20 minutes. "Cancel," Nathan said automatically. Derek stared at him, concerned. "Nathan, I get you're going through something, but you can't just ditch the company." Nathan stopped pacing and looked at his friend. "And if I can," Derek sighed, shutting the door. "It's about Emily and Grace, isn't it?" "Grace's father came back," Nathan explained, running a hand through his hair. "After 7 years of radio silence, now he wants a place in her life. And you're jealous." "It's not jealousy," Nathan objected, though a part of him knew there was some truth there. "I'm worried. What if he hurts Grace again? What if he disappears again? They finally found stability. "Not your decision to make, buddy," Derek said gently. "It's Emily's." Nathan slumped into a chair, defeated. "I know, and she doesn't even want to talk to me after she found out about the rent." "Give her time," Derek advised. "If what you have is real, she'll come back." "What if she doesn't?" The vulnerability in Nathan's voice surprised even him. "What if I lose them both?" Derek watched him in disbelief. In 15 years, he had never seen Nathan so shaken by anything, not even the worst financial disasters or major corporate crises. "Then you move on, like you always do," Derek said quietly. "But at least you'll have tried for something that truly matters." Nathan mulled over his friend's words. His entire life had been built around measurable achievements, profits and expansions, accolades. But what he felt for Emily and Grace couldn't be quantified or controlled. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. "The board can wait until tomorrow," he decided finally. "I have something more important to figure out right now." Emily met Mark at the cafe during her break. She had agreed to see him for a quick conversation to set clear boundaries. "Thanks for coming," he said, standing up as she approached. He was dressed neatly, hair combed, eyes clear and alert. So different from the unstable young man who'd abandoned her. "I only have 20 minutes, she said, sitting down. "What exactly do you want, Mark?" He took a deep breath. "I want to be part of my daughter's life, however you allow it. On your terms." "Why? Why now after 7 years?" "Because I'm finally sober enough to see how badly I messed up," he said, meeting her gaze. 2 years clean. I have a stable job as an accountant, a small apartment. I'm in therapy." Emily studied his face, looking for signs of the old Mark. The feverish glint in his eyes when he lied, the slight tremor in his hands when he craved a drink. She saw no trace of those things, yet she still hesitated. "What if you relapse? What if Grace grows attached to you and then you disappear again?" Mark lowered his eyes. "It's a risk, I won't lie. Recovery is a daily struggle, but I'm committed." "You were committed to our relationship too, remember? You promised to stop drinking, to get help." Emily couldn't keep the bitterness out of her voice. "It lasted exactly 2 weeks after you found out I was pregnant. I was young and stupid and scared." Mark sighed. "I'm not asking you to trust me immediately, Emily. I'm asking for a chance to prove I've changed." Emily was about to answer when she caught sight of Nathan through the cafe window. He stood there, surprise and, was it pain, flickering across his face upon seeing her with Mark. For a moment, their eyes locked through the glass. Then Nathan gave a small nod and turned away, giving them space. "Who's that?" Mark asked, noticing her distraction. "No one," Emily replied automatically, then corrected herself. "A friend. Looks like more than a friend." Emily ignored the remark. "Listen, Mark, if you really want to be in Grace's life, we need clear rules, supervised visits, firm commitments, no false promises." He nodded eagerly. "Whatever you say. We can start slow. Just brief meetings so she can get used to me." Emily felt a knot in her stomach. Was she actually considering letting him in? After everything she'd done to protect Grace? "I need time," she said eventually. "And I need to talk to Grace. She's very perceptive. If I decide to let you in, it'll be because she wants to meet you, not because you want to meet her." Mark agreed. "That's fair. Thank you, Emily. I know I don't deserve this chance." As she watched him leave, she wondered whether she was making a terrible mistake or finally allowing old wounds to heal. Thursday, scardy Nathan wandered the city without aim, Emily's meeting with Mark still fresh in his mind. He had gone to the cafe intending to talk to her, to apologize in person, to fight for what they'd built. But seeing her with Mark had stopped him short. What if he was just complicating her life even more? She already had enough on her plate. Her daughter, the new job, the return of her ex. Maybe the kinder thing would be to step back, give her space to resolve her past without the added pressure of a new relationship. But the thought of losing Emily and Grace felt physically painful. In just a few months, they had become the center of his life, filling a void he hadn't even known existed. Without noticing, he ended up at the park where he used to take Grace. He sat on the same bench where she'd once touched his face, asking why he sounded sad. "Why do you sound sad?" He looked up, startled by the memory. For a ridiculous moment, he almost thought Grace was there, but it was just a vivid recollection. He was sad because, for the first time in his life, he had something to lose that truly mattered. His money, his company, his status, all of it could disappear tomorrow, and he wouldn't feel a fraction of this pain that now gnawed at him over the possibility of losing Emily and Grace. Was this what it meant to love someone deeply? This terrifying, wonderful vulnerability? His phone rang. Emily. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice tense. "Tas now?" And they met at the park, on the same bench where Nathan had been sitting. Emily looked exhausted but resolute. "I saw you at the cafe," she began. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt." "Why were you there?" Nathan took a deep breath. "I wanted to apologize in person. Say, I understand why you're upset. And if you'll give me another chance, I promise I'll never hide anything from you again." Emily studied his face for a long moment. "Mark wants to meet Grace. What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to protect her from any disappointment. Another part says she deserves to know her father, to form her own opinion." Nathan resisted the impulse to offer solutions, to try to control the situation. "What does Grace want?" he asked instead. Emily looked surprised by the question. "She's curious. She overheard us talking and knows he's her father. Grace is incredibly perceptive. She'll probably see the truth about him, whatever it is." Emily gave a small, genuine smile, the first in days. "Yes, she is." They sat in silence for a moment, watching children play in the distance. "I talked to Mark today," Emily continued. "He really seems changed. He's sober, stable." Nathan felt a twinge of jealousy, but pushed it aside. "That's good, right? For Grace, I mean, maybe. But while I was speaking to him, I realized something." Emily turned to face him. "I don't feel anything for him anymore. Not anger, not hurt, and certainly not love. He's just a man who once hurt me deeply." Nathan wasn't sure how to respond or what that meant for them. "Yes, for years," Emily went on, "I've lived with fear. Fear of trusting. Fear of letting anyone in. Fear of letting anyone get close to Grace. I built walls around us." "You were protecting your daughter." "Yes, but I was also hiding," she admitted. "Then you showed up in your fancy suits and your perfect life, and somehow you got in." Nathan almost smiled. "Sis, my life was far from perfect. It was empty. But you filled it with us," Emily said softly. "Then lied to me about the apartment, about the rent." "It was a terrible mistake," Nathan said. "I'm so used to fixing things, controlling situations, that I ended up treating you like a problem to solve, not as a partner." "A partner?" She raised an eyebrow. Nathan reddened. "That's how I see you. As someone I want to build with, not just share fleeting moments." Emily looked at him, her eyes searching his face. "Why are you here, Nathan? Really? Do you want to be with us because you feel something real, or because you're trying to fix something in yourself?" Her direct question took him by surprise, but she deserved an equally honest answer. "In the beginning, maybe it was about fixing something in me," he admitted. "You two showed me how empty my life was, and I wanted to fill that void. But now," he took a deep breath, meeting her gaze, "I want to be here because, for the first time in my life, I've found something that truly matters. It's not about fixing anything. It's about building something new. Together." Emily didn't respond immediately, processing his words. "I'm scared," she finally confessed. "Not just of you hurting me, but of not knowing how to do this, how to trust, how to let someone in completely." "I'm scared too," Nathan admitted. "I've never been this vulnerable with anyone. It's terrifying." "Then why take the risk?" "Because some things are worth it." Nathan held out his hand, not to take hers, but as an invitation. "I learned that from Grace, actually. She faces the world without seeing it, trusting she won't fall. That bravery. I want some of that." Emily looked at his outstretched hand. After a moment's hesitation, she placed hers on top of it. "It won't be easy," she warned. "Till I have Grace, And now Mark is back and everything is complicated. Life usually is, Nathan replied, but we can handle it together, one day at a time. No lies, no secrets, no trying to control everything. Emily gave his hand a gentle squeeze. One day at a time, she agreed. As they walked through the park side by side, Nathan felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Not because all the problems were solved, far from it, but because, for the first time, he wasn't facing the future alone, nor was he trying to dictate it. He had chosen vulnerability over safety, love over fear. And no matter what came next, that choice had already changed him forever. Autumn painted the city in golden hues when Grace had her first piano recital. The small auditorium at her school was packed, and Emily nervously straightened the blue dress her daughter wore. "You're not nervous?" she asked, smoothing out one of Grace's curly locks. Grace smiled. Her sightless eyes turned toward her mother's voice. "A little. But I remember what Nathan said. Nerves mean you care." Emily smiled back. Over the past few weeks, since their honest talk in the park, things had changed between her and Nathan. A trust rebuilt step by step, no rush. Nathan approached down the hallway, holding a small bouquet. "For the star of the evening," he said, handing the flowers to Grace, who felt them with her fingertips. "They're lilies. I can tell by the shape and smell. My favorite flower." A cough interrupted them. Mark stood a few steps away, holding a small package in his hands. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible." "Mark." Grace recognized his voice immediately. Over the past weeks, she had had supervised meetings with her biological father, all carefully arranged. He handed the package to Grace, a tiny music box that played Für Elise, the same piece she would perform. "I thought you could practice by listening whenever you want," Mark explained. Emily watched the exchange with mixed emotions. There was no denying Mark was trying. He always arrived on time, respected boundaries, never showed up smelling of alcohol. But the pain of his abandonment still lingered. Nathan subtly placed a hand on her arm, a simple gesture of support. Emily exhaled, remembering the decision she had made, to let Grace meet her father, not for Mark's benefit but for her daughter's. "It's a beautiful gift, Mark," she said, surprised to find sincerity in her voice. The moment was cut short by the announcement that the students should head backstage. "Remember to count to 3 before you begin," Emily instructed. "And breathe," Nathan added. "And have fun," Mark chimed in. Grace grinned in the direction of their 3 voices. "I'll do all that. I'm going to play for all of you." Grace's performance was flawless. Her fingers danced across the keys with remarkable precision. But what truly captivated the audience was her pure joy while playing, as if through music she could see a world her eyes couldn't perceive. During the celebratory dinner afterward at Nonna's kitchen, Emily marveled at the scene. Grace, at the center of attention, excitedly recounted the backstage happenings while Nathan and Mark both listened attentively. Then Tommy messed up all the notes. "But the teacher said it was because he was nervous," Grace explained, gesturing. "You didn't seem nervous at all," Nathan observed. "Because I couldn't see everyone staring," Grace answered simply. "Sometimes, not seeing has perks." Over dessert, Mark asked to speak to Emily privately. On the tiny rear balcony, he seemed nervous. "I just wanted to thank you for letting me be part of her life, even after everything," he finally said. "I also got that job offer in Seattle. I'll be moving next month." "And Grace?" Emily asked, feeling an involuntary sense of relief. "I can come visit once a month if you allow. I'll stay in a hotel, follow your schedule, and I promise never to disappear on her again." "You've made that promise before," Emily reminded him. Mark nodded. "Yes, and I broke it. I don't expect you to fully trust me yet. I just want to prove, with actions, not words, that I've changed." Emily studied him for a long moment. The impulsive, selfish Mark seemed replaced by someone more mature. "Once a month," she agreed, "and we'll keep visits supervised for now." Back at the table, they found Nathan showing Grace some chords on a napkin, using different textures to represent notes. "That way you can practice anywhere," he explained patiently. Emily watched them, impressed by the patience and creativity Nathan showed with Grace, qualities no one would have associated with the ruthless businessman she'd met months before. 2 weeks later, Emily was finalizing details for the one-year anniversary party of Luminous Cafe, which would coincide with Grace's 8th birthday. Nathan arrived early to help, carrying boxes of decorations. "Derek says everything's ready for the announcement," he said. "Are you sure you want to do it today?" Emily smiled, perched on a small ladder, hanging lights from the ceiling. "Absolutely. It's the perfect moment." "I need to tell you something," Nathan said when she climbed down. "I've reduced my workload at the company. Derek is taking on more responsibilities as co-CEO." Emily looked at him, surprised. "Nathan Bennett, delegating power. Who are you, and what have you done with the workaholic I met?" He laughed, gently pulling her into his arms. "Let's just say I have better priorities now. I want time for the things that really matter. Like decorating for kids' parties," she teased. "Like being present," he corrected her. "I don't want to be that man who misses important moments because he's stuck in a meeting." Emily kissed him softly. "She's going to be thrilled to hear you're taking her to piano lessons every Tuesday. And what about you? How do you feel about seeing more of me?" "I think I'll manage," she answered with a smile. The cafe soon filled with guests, employees, loyal customers, Grace's friends. Mark appeared briefly, staying within agreed boundaries. Emily noticed, with relief, that there was no visible tension between him and Nathan, only a mutual respect. When it was time for the announcement, Nathan stepped onto the small stage. The cafe fell silent. A year ago, Luminous opened its doors with a simple mission: to create a welcoming space. Today, thanks to Emily's extraordinary vision, we're expanding. He paused. "I will be launching our new Grace line of sensory products for children with visual impairments next month, along with a second location." Applause filled the room. Grace's face beamed with pride. "But today isn't just about business," Nathan continued. "It's about celebrating connections, remembering that it's not spreadsheets or profits that define us, but the bonds we form." His eyes found Emily's, and within that look was a promise, not one of perfection, but of presence. Later, Emily found Nathan and Grace sitting in a quiet corner. He was describing constellations, using coffee beans to form stars on the table, guiding her hands to trace the patterns. "And this is the Big Dipper," he explained patiently. "It looks like a giant ladle in the sky." "Bigger than Mr. Bear?" Grace asked, referring to her stuffed animal. "It's much bigger, as big as this entire building." Grace laughed, enchanted. Emily sat quietly, taking in the moment. "Nathan," Grace said suddenly, "are you ever going to live with us?" The question caught both adults off guard. They exchanged glances. "Well," he answered carefully, "that's something your mum and I need to talk about. But do you want to?" Grace pressed. Nathan smiled, gently touching Grace's cheek. "I'm more than anything in the world, Princess." "Good," she declared, satisfied, "because you're already part of our family anyway. Family doesn't have to live together to be family." Emily felt tears in her eyes at her daughter's simple wisdom. That night, walking home under a starry sky, Emily reflected on the journey of the past months. It hadn't been easy, letting Mark into Grace's life, learning to trust Nathan again, balancing work and motherhood. But for the first time in ages, she wasn't afraid of the future. They had built bridges between the past and the present, between old wounds and new possibilities. Grace walked between them, confidently holding Nathan's hand, reciting the story of the Big Dipper as though she could see it shining above. Emily watched Nathan's face as he listened, genuinely fascinated by the world Grace perceived. The lonely man who had walked into her aunt's restaurant months ago, with empty eyes and a closed heart, was gone. In his place was someone who finally understood that real wealth wasn't in bank accounts, but in the ability to love and be loved. And as the stars glowed overhead, the same stars Grace would never see but fully understood, Emily knew with certainty that they had all found at last the true meaning of home.